Let me start with the fact that even the entire world is changing. If anyone is using the old ways of marketing to actually operate in this dimension, you will be totally lost with what has happened in the marketing space. I love what is happening, to be honest. Beyond the certificate of degree, I can tell you for sure that the four walls of school have been broken. There's certainly nothing you want to learn in an institution that you can't learn online. I really don't think AI standardize anything because it is literally garbage in, if I may say, garbage out.
Yeah.
And that is why when people say that AI is coming to take people's job, to some extent, it will reduce the number of people that will do the job. But the fact is that the quality of the job is still dependent on the quality of the person that is behind the prompt.
We're living in a time where marketing information has never been more accessible. You can learn strategy on YouTube. You can study branding on TikTok. You can build an entire audience without even ever stepping into a classroom. So it raises an interesting question. In an age of creators, algorithms, and AI, what really is the value of structured marketing education today? And honestly, I can't think of a better person to explore that question with than today's guest. Dr. Abiodun Ajiborode is a marketing scholar, business consultant, executive coach, and founder of Brand Management Academy, one of the most respected practical marketing capability development platforms in all of Africa. But what makes his perspective particularly interesting is that he's experienced marketing from multiple angles, from leading and building major brands across companies like Coca-Cola, PZ Cussons, SAB Miller, and Promasidor, to now helping shape the next generation of marketing professionals through education, training, and leadership development. Many people in the industry, including myself, simply call him coach, which honestly says a lot about the role he's come to play in the careers and thinking of many marketers. And I think that makes him the perfect person to help us unpack a much bigger conversation. What kind of learning actually creates good marketers today? Coach, welcome to Branding Book Club.
Thank you very much. Thank you, BC and Olapo, for inviting me.
We're glad to have you on today.
Pleasure meeting you guys.
See you. I haven't seen you in so many years.
You've been making your money and forgot about
Money. Yeah, the one packing all the money. Not left much for the rest of us.
Interesting topic. So let's dive into it.
Yes.
Let's dive in. I feel like when Dolakwa and I were talking about this, we had so many thoughts, so many questions, and I guess in general the atmosphere was just us being super excited to learn from you, to ask questions, and just be, I guess, your students for the next 45 minutes to an hour. So I'd like us to start a bit broad, actually. I'm looking at the marketer as a whole. Coach, do you think the definition of what makes a good marketer is changing? And I guess if yes, more specifically in your conversations with your students, with colleagues, with the industry at large, what changes do you think we really should be paying attention to?
Okay. Thank you very much. Let me start with the fact that even the entire world is changing. So it's not just marketing as a whole. Parenting is changing, even the workplace experiences are changing on a daily basis. And the world is moving at a very, very fast pace. The advent, and I think what led into this was 2020, and I was glad that I experienced pandemic. When I say it, people don't like it. They said people died during that period and all of that. But I think if pandemic didn't happen, probably some of these changes would never have been, maybe it will come, maybe it will not be as fast as it is. So there are a lot of orientations that have changed. Major companies in Nigeria now, and I mean most agencies and all of that, consulting firms, they run 2 days on, 2 days off. These are things that literally were not in place in those days. And a lot of things have shifted. So coming to marketing, I think fundamentally the approach to marketing has significantly changed. Yes, is the traditional fundamentals as they change? I would say the answer is no. You still have to understand your consumer, as the case may be. You still have to understand the TG you are speaking to. You have to understand the insight. All of those things are basic. You still have to do your pricing right. You have to understand your route to market and the rest. However, the way those things are being done today, the way they are being done today has shifted significantly. And if anyone is using the old ways of marketing to actually operate in this dimension, you will be totally lost with what has happened in the marketing space. So I don't think the fundamentals have changed, shifted, but I think the definition and the approach of marketing has significantly take a very, very deep change.
Yeah, that's really interesting because something Dolapo and I were talking about earlier is actually how within marketing itself, there's so many schools of thought as well. You said that things are constantly changing, which is true, and we're seeing it. But there are also so many schools of thoughts. You have people talking about distinctiveness versus differentiation. You have people championing long-term brand building and short-term performance marketing. And some people are more about target the entire market, and some are about building that loyalty and really deepening your penetration. And I think for someone whoever is coming fresh into the industry or even people within the industry, what are your thoughts on, I guess, the concept of marketing working in a lot of different ways versus that single expert approved way?
To be honest, the concept of diversification in the marketing profession, you can't erase that. So there are diverse ways in which things are done now. Today, you can sit down, you can be using, somebody might sit down with ChatGPT. You have another one talking about Claude, another one talking about Lovable. So there are different approaches to how you can get things done today. Going back to what I said earlier, however, the dimension has shifted, and I will tell you how I've pictured this. My book will be out in the next, I think, by the end of July. I should be planning to launch. I had a July launch date, perhaps if I have to shift maybe to August. And the central theme in that book is focusing on the changes in the marketing space. For instance, if you are defining target audience by demographic today, you probably will be missing out. And those were the fundamentals of definition of TG in those days.
Very
Today,
true.
it's obsolete. I will say it because one, you are boxing a particular group of people into a segment and age bracket and thinking that those are the people that will consume XYZ. But we know that those things are not true. With the introduction of creative economy, money is now available to 18 years, to 13 years, 12 years old boy. It can buy you. It can buy you and I. Probably, yeah. With the monetization of YouTube, everybody makes money everywhere now. So the question is, how do you then begin to now segment your market, not based on demographic, and begin to look at tribe? Your TG as a tribe that share the same ideology, that have the same motivation, that has the same focus and all of that. So that in itself is one of the changes that has happened in the marketing world when people are tilting towards ethnographic definition of TG rather than just in those days, what we used to know is demographic 13 to 33, male and female. Today, it's not about male and female again. You now have in between. So the question is, how do you then begin to now adopt these trends? How do you begin to adopt these changes in your new marketing approach? And I think that is what is changing. However, like I said, the fundamental remain the same. Whichever way you take, you are still coming back to understanding your consumer to be able to serve them
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you mentioned something that we'll touch on a bit later on, but just how there's so much access to information and anyone can kind of get on YouTube and get on TikTok and kind of do their thing. But let's just kind of come back to education because our industry is very polarizing, right? People that talk about traditional marketing courses and doing a full degree. Dr. and I, for instance, did a full year of marketing and brand management. People talk about being self-taught and everything in between. Coach, from where you sit right now, having seen marketing kind of evolve, right, across corporate leadership, across education, across people developing their capabilities, what do you think is fundamentally changing about how people learn marketing today?
So I think I love what is happening, to be honest. The dimension within the education space has sort of proliferates the approach to learning. If I sit here and I say beyond the certificate of degree, that okay, I'm holding a certificate that I went to an institution, I can tell you for sure that the four walls of school have been broken. That's the truth of the matter.
Agreed.
There's certainly nothing you want to learn in an institution that you can't learn online.
Mm,
That's the truth. So, however, because let's just look at it this way. If I need to learn prompt engineering, all I just need is to actually box in online, and then I have 200, 2,000, people who have done step-by-step guide on how to do prompt engineering and how you can actually excel in whichever function you are looking at. And if you step back in those days and you say you go into institution to go and learn that, you spend 4 years learning that, and then in the bucket of some very, very wicked lecturers that want to frustrate you by force and all of that. But today, in the comfort of my home, with a cup of tea, I can sit down and learn. If I'm
mm,
dedicated, I can learn prompt engineering within a week, and I can practicalize it. So the show walking changes the entire thing. Today we have a lot of guys who are tech guys that literally did not go to any school. They just understand how is Claude used, and they learn Claude. They're making money through it. I don't need to go to an institution to go and learn how Claude works. I don't need to go to register for a program in an Ivy League school to understand how to develop a new product. There are a lot of experts that have actually created work tools, that have created framework online that I can actually learn from. So,
yeah.
however, because of the certificate and because of the structures and the framework that have been put within the education system, you are still technically compelled to go through that system, whether virtually or physically, for you to have a proof. Proof is in paper now and not in knowledge.
Mm,
Because if you need a knowledge proof, you don't need to go through any wall for you to get that. I can get that on YouTube. I can take that on Udemy, Coursera, and the list goes on. So I would say that education space has totally changed, and where people can learn has totally changed. But like I said, the structure, the model, the framework of you actually earning a degree or a certificate to actually back your learning will make
mm,
traditional school relevant, at least forever.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm really enjoying this because I feel like there are two things within that. Like, on one hand, you mentioned if you want to learn a particular skill, it's very easy to kind of take the YouTube courses or pay for their platforms like Coursera, for instance, where you can pay for it and then do a few modules and stuff. But there's also just general access to information, right? We're in a world where people have TikTok hot takes and YouTube commentary, and everyone can create video commentary on anything that's happening, dissecting culture. But another thing was whether access to information in general is actually translating into people having a deeper understanding of some of these elements of marketing. So do you think sometimes we mistake this proximity, right, to marketing conversations for actual mastery of marketing?
Okay, so having access to information doesn't do justice to mastering anything, to be honest. So like the information journey, or there's what we call the wisdom ladder, which start from data itself. And when data is aggregated and then codified, it becomes information. Now, that you have information doesn't necessarily mean that you know something
Hmm.
until that information is converted into knowledge. Now, what the internet has done for us this day is to make available those information. And in some instances, before the advent of AI, you have to then it's been converted to knowledge, because when you go into, you go to Google Scholar and all of that, you can download articles, you can download time papers, and then read knowledge, extract knowledge from it. Maybe hypotheses have been done to convert some consumer information or insights. You have access to that. But the question is, there's a layer of experience and intervention that helps you concretize that knowledge that you've read. No, that's why sometimes we finish from school, you have all the 4 P's of marketing in your head, everything, all the framework. But when you get into the real work environment, you just realize that you're not coming in on a Monday morning and people are asking you, what are the 4 P's you're going to do today?
Yeah.
Okay, so the reality is then you begin to now see real business issues that require intervention. Maybe in your approach to it, you then begin to go to a repository of knowledge where you kept some of them and pull them out and apply them in real time. So access itself and proximity to some of these things necessarily doesn't mean that you become mastery until you lay your hand on some. I have a lot of people who have podcasts here and there, speak all manner of jargons, employ them and put them to run a brand. Then you really see that it's just bluffing. Because really, until you get into the steering, think about it, that no matter how much you read book on aeronautical engineering and you have first class, maybe top of the range, if you finish school on your graduation day, nobody will put you inside any plane. You will still have to go to aviation school to go and learn how to fly. Exactly. So the same thing happens that's why medical doctors don't graduate until you have your housemanship. You can't take knife and start cutting people because you read biology textbook. So the question is, there's still that level of appreciation of the knowledge, which comes in a place of applying it over a period of time. And this is where experience is built. So knowledge, all of these things are available on internet and all of that. But more importantly, the application of it then gives you that license to become master of it, to master it technically. And this is where, like I said, the YouTube of this world have done excellently well, because in this context now, if you're talking about the practicality of some things, apart from in the world where we find ourselves, a chef can literally put a fry pan on the table, on the fire, and start watching YouTube and actually make the meal. It might not be perfect at the first time, but constant approach to that will probably give that person. But it's difficult for you to do brand management virtually or marketing virtually. You have to get into the driver's seat of taking a brand or taking a product or converting whatsoever it is, and actually work within not an online audience, within a simulated consumer space. And then that's why you can then say, oh, I've done this on this brand, I've turned the life of this brand, I've gained this market share, I've turned the awareness into this. That is when you can then lay claim on mastery within our space.
Yeah. So it's kind of the combination of having that information and the knowledge you get from the information and the application, plus the results that you get from the application, and doing that over time. That's what builds the mastery.
100%.
Exactly.
100%. And in my everyday work, thinking about when we're back in school or like brand management academy or doing masters, coming into the real world is obviously so different. But one thing I will say in terms of those frameworks, those traditional frameworks, like the 4 Ps, they are still so useful, I think, in kind of grounding your thinking and your approach. So it's just funny how these things are. So you were talking about lots of people on the internet just speaking on marketing and podcasting and giving their 2 cents and different schools of thoughts. So I would like to move on to the area of creator and the creator economy, because it's such a huge part of marketing application right now. So we've seen a lot of institutions adapt their approach and curriculums. Institutions like Kellogg, Northwestern are now building programs around influencer strategy, while Bocconi is teaching the creator economy as a business system. What do you think that says about how marketing itself is evolving?
The truth, like when we started, what I said was you can see a lot of movement in the dynamics of how marketing is being done today. And when you look at the way things are done, I think institutions are beginning to see the reality that except you start, converting some of these things into a proper institutional course, your colleague, your NECA, whatsoever is online that is actually doing that will probably be taking, will create their own economy, will create their own systems of people who actually listen to them. And that is why a lot of institutions are beginning to say, hey, let's create, because this has come to stay. Everybody now is a newscaster. Everybody has a podcast here and there. Everybody, Taylor wants to actually showcase. We are in that attention economy where everybody wants to showcase what they are doing. And when you understand that from an educator point of view, you need to start also creating that framework that supports the learning, maybe in a more structured and more formal way to be able. Some of them are doing it now and they don't even understand how to convert that into money. Yes, they just think it's about followership. So it's not about followership, it's how do you convert that content into a monetized value generating element. And this is what probably the likes of Kellogg's or the likes of, Harvard, the likes of all of this understand, because they already have a business model that convert anything into a value creation agent. So it's to now begin to now look at that holistically to say, okay, let's then say this is how this is supposed to be done so that you can actually milk it and actually generate sustainable income from it. So I believe quite well that this is what is driving the increase in attention of most of these institutions, driving, significantly and creating some modules, courses, program specifically for the creators economy. It's very clear. For instance, let me also just stay on this. Take for instance, if probably people who are learned, who are senior officers, marketing directors, and all of those things in our space. If they want to learn how to do a proper podcast for the sake of argument, because of their ego, they probably will not go to your Okoli or go to your NECA to go and teach them and all of that. They want an institution that has a name, and it's the same thing that NECA will teach them, but more in and more structured environment where they can actually be proud of actually doing it from those places. And I think that is why you see institutions go in that direction. Otherwise, you will sometimes even understand that those guys doing it on their own even do a better job than going to the school. I'm sorry, but that's the truth of the matter. I have some few ladies
It's
who,
so
yeah.
funny that you say that, Coach, because I remember when I was in BME, one of the things that fascinated me the most was there was a profile of you, your picture, and then all the institutions that you have attended is the most impressive thing I've ever seen. Harvard Business School, Lagos Business School, I think times two. Kellogg's that we mentioned and it's been years. I still remember it. So it's so interesting that you say this now, Coach.
But that's the reality of what the world has turned into, and this is literally where we are. And the earlier everybody begin to leave your ego and understand that you need to come to the party with the trend, come to the party with reality, perhaps you might probably be losing out of the value that is available in the entire workspace. I think this is what you're talking about. So let me see if I can show you if I'm correct. Is this what you're talking about?
Yeah. Yes, that is it.
Wow, that's so many logos.
Okay.
So
Don't
many.
don't don't mind me. Don't
Wow.
mind me. Like I said, life has changed. And like you remember when you were doing BME, I said, see, the fact is that if you want to place BMA beside Kellogg's, beside this, beside LBS, beside all of that, when you look at the kind of content that is shown out of BMA, you can know that sometimes we're deeper than all of that. But see, you cannot erase the fact that these are institutions that have built brand over the years, and you need the association of those institutions. Even
Yeah.
if you go to Okoli to go and get all the knowledge, you just need 2-3 days in Kellogg's to now wrap that knowledge under an umbrella of something that has very high and esteem kind of reputation that you can. So I did my, what do you call it? Maybe I did my creators economy masterclass at LBS or at Kellogg's. But you know deep inside of you that it was Okoli on YouTube that actually taught you the real thing how to do it. But
Oh,
you understand the fact that we need to wrap some of these things
yeah.
around some very, very interesting ego. And it's a game. You have to play it well.
Yeah, you've spoken a lot. You've spoken about association, the
Mm.
brand equity that they've built over time,
Yeah.
and that name, like that whole board that you just showed us, having
Mhm.
that stack of names is so crucial to your personal brand and image. You previously said that there's nothing you can learn in an institution that you can't learn online. Do you think outside of that association there are certain parts of structured learning that the internet cannot replicate?
Yes, of course, 100%. I totally agree with you. Like I said first, the rigor of going into a school and the discipline required for you to function within that 4 walls, it's not something that you can get easily virtually. So I train, and and I have some couple of people who join our training virtually. The experience has never been the same. You understand what I'm saying? Because for you to join and learn something virtually, it requires you, there are two levels of concentration that is required, the giver and the receiver. And most often the givers are often very, very, they are in their space and they are giving the right thing. Their level of concentration is very high. But the receiver is now the question. Some wants to go to the toilet and quickly you want to be listening to the lecture, and then you want to be also be frying eggs and all of that. And at the end of the day, the experience are never the same. And the second thing is, take for instance, if you're running a PhD virtually and you're running a PhD in an institution, so you have a physical, you can be an hybrid, but you have a physical approach to it. The result is going to be extremely very different. And the completion time might also be extremely very different, because if you have that liberty of time, of yourself, of not, being confined into a structure, there's every tendency that the output might be compromised. Does it mean that somebody can't do something virtually and still be excellent? The answer is no. And I'll tell you for sure, there are a lot of people who can concentrate virtually and still get. But I always say that that structured approach within the school environment has a psychological effect on the quality that is being actually produced in the life of that student. That's what I would say. But we're in virtual age. The life of any business now is to begin to actually understand how do you serve virtual audience, because it's going to get into that place. Mostly when you are in service, you are in education. There are a lot of people want to do BMA now. They will tell you, I want to pay seats. So that's the dimension we're going, where we record all the lectures, we do everything the way it's supposed to be done, and then we house it. So you can then do on demand. So you're not compelled to come on a Saturday. You're not compelled to do it any. You can read, you can listen to it, do your assessment, finish everything. But one thing that we say we are going to maintain is that when you are ready, you can then now book your assessment online. That assessment, you still would do it, whether virtually or physically, but you can book your time. That's where the trend is going. Otherwise, you lose out of a lot of people who want to be part of what you're doing, but they are constrained because of location, physicality, or they are constrained because of time zone. For instance, I had a lady who was doing this program before he relocated to Canada. That's how many hours? About 6, 7 hours time difference. So it was difficult to cope. was extremely very difficult to cope. But like I said, there's nothing that can be done virtually now, but there is a difference between the outcome when it is physical and when it is virtual.
Yeah, that's definitely, I definitely agree with that. Let's talk a little bit about AI before we get back into, core
The
education
elephant in the
topic.
room.
Yes.
Yeah, we can.
We've talked a little bit about it. And now that AI has entered the picture, I think it complicates the conversation even further. The question now is, if AI increasingly automates execution and output, and everyone suddenly has access to the same tools, do strategic foundations and judgment become more important or less important moving forward?
Maybe that question, when you talk about execution from still a strategy point of view or from, an output point of view. But let me give you an example. You can't do sampling on AI, whether whichever way you look at it. I'll do a sampling of my new biscuits. I can't do that. It can give me a guide on how to do that, but I still have to go out and execute properly. But when you talk about, maybe you are putting together a strategic roadmap and then you need AI to actually to actually help you do it. Now, I'm sure you've interacted with some of these tools severally to understand that even you, Yolako, and me, if we write the same prompts, we write the same exact prompts, we have it and we put it into AI too, the outcome will be different. The reason is
Definitely.
that if you've been using it over time and you've actually set and design your own personality and the AI has learned you over time, your approach to strategy development, to strategic thinking and all of that will totally be different from what Dolakwa will do. So even when we have the same prompt and we put it into our own workspace, the outcome is going to be very, very different. So that's why I really don't think AI standardize anything, because it is literally garbage in, if I may say, garbage out.
Yeah,
And that is why when people say that AI is coming to take people's job, to some extent, it will reduce the number of people that will do the job. But the fact is that the quality of the job is still dependent on the quality of the person that is behind the prompt.
absolutely.
So, and the quality of the prompt is subject to your experience, how vast you are, how deep you are, how immersed you are with these fundamental strategies that we're talking about. Today, I do a lot of simulations and I use AI to develop those simulations. But those simulations are things that I design from my head based on my experience, my interaction with the business ecosystem, and understanding the learning output that I'm looking for. Except we literally are saying the same thing and we design our personality in the AI tool as the same. That is how you can get the same output from anybody. But I will tell you today, I think this generation is blessed with the advent of AI. It makes work faster and the quality of what you get, as long as you have an innate quality yourself, is improved. Let me give you a classic example. I was telling some crowds of people lately, I was saying, if I were to be operating, let's say I was a brand manager at this level in an environment and I add AI, probably I will become a monster, to be honest. Because in those days, you get a Nielsen report of the performance of your brand. 3 days, you're sitting down and dicing and looking at numbers,
Yeah,
cross-referencing, triangulating, and all of that. 4 days, you are there, still try to understand what the data is telling you. So you do pie chart, you do buy chart, you trend, you do all of that. Today, literally, if you give me a research report, I can throw that research report into an AI tool and give the AI tool direction, how I want the AI tool to dice, size, and give me the output of that. And in 2-3 minutes, you have all of that. Then you can use that insight to actually begin to develop whatsoever strategy direction you want for your brand. So I think the automation is great, but I don't think it's going to erase anything from the ingenuity of individuals, because that is actually premised on the worldview of that person, the experience of that person, the learning attitude of that person, and how deep that person is within the subject that is being thrown into the AI tool.
That's actually very good to hear. Because I feel like we're kind of split as an industry in terms of, AI and what's gonna happen. You have one set of people that's all about the doom and gloom, and like you said, AI is going to take all our jobs. And then there's the other sect that's highly optimistic. But your perspective is very grounded because the AI tools are there to help us, but it's only as good as you're good, basically.
only
And
as
that
good
comes
as
with the
you are.
practice and the work and building that mastery that we were talking about. So,
Yeah. Just so back to the topic of education and also AI. In this age of AI now, what parts of marketing education do you feel are increasingly outdated? Why I ask is because in the application of day-to-day marketing and execution, like even not just marketing, everywhere, AI is a huge part of how we execute, how we think, how we ideate. So what parts of traditional marketing education will you feel are increasingly outdated?
So,
If
to be
any.
honest, I'm saying that I don't think any aspect of marketing is not relevant, but I just think the approach is what will be outdated. For instance, in those days, if you want to collect data, literally you go fill a paper, somebody sit down somewhere, doing those paper, collect the data, now come into a place, try to put it into Excel. After then you collate and all of that. Those things are far, behind. Coca-Cola recently launched their own internal AI. And to be honest, I'm sure that they will have restructured a lot of things in their research and human insights department. Because at that point, you really don't need multiple people. But the foundational human truth that you need to understand is still relevant. To be honest, you will still price it. But instead of sitting down and be looking at pricing algorithm by myself now, I can instruct an AI tool and give an AI tool to actually scope the entire industry, understand the price algorithm, and give me prediction. I can even ask this particular tool to do, I can do a conjoint analysis for me, that if I take the price, this is my own price, look at the competitive price online. And because of e-commerce, you always find all of this information. They are everywhere. So, and that's why in the comfort of my on my laptop, I can get all those algorithms being picked, all those information being picked, and then reside in a particular space to say, okay, then I haven't invested all of this pricing. I want to price my product at this rate. It's currently at this rate. Look at the consumer segment and then look at the competitive set and then tell me what is the right price that I should be doing? And even go to do a conjoint point that if I take my price to this amount, what probably will be the dip in my volume? I can throw a volume information into it. The system will come back to you with all those information. Those fundamentals will never change. But the approach has changed now. Because if I want to do a conjoint analysis before, I will employ the service of an agency who will go into the trades to do all this abracadabra for the next 3 months, come back to me and come and present something to me. And this is something I can now get done within a week, take my decisions, and actually look at my pros and cons and arrive as a decision. So decisions are more faster. Okay, do you now talk about MPD process? MPD process will not change. It won't change, but the approach has changed Today we're talking about sprints where you can actually create a full-fledged stack. Whether you are doing application or you are doing a product, you can do that within a week. Monday you do that, Tuesday you iterate, Wednesday you're doing financial business analysis, and by Friday you are ready with your MPD. Technically. So the approach will not change. Is it pricing? It won't change. Is it distribution? It won't change technically. So I don't think there's any aspect of marketing education that you can actually say, oh, we will not be doing pricing again, or we will not be doing MPD again, or we will not be doing this because of automation. No, the approach, the way we do it is what has changed. I used to tell people today, I said, AI has always been. What has happened is this. Before, when you want to search for a subject, you go on your Google and you search. And then Google is going to throw out to you different, what do you call it, organic search results. And then you go into those research and open it. Maybe a PDF file that is attached to a link. You open it. Then you start reading and you start sieving out what you need in that space. Now, what AI has done is just one level that has, instead of you going through that, it has done all the reading for you, sieve it out for you. Even if you want to give it another task to say, in this sieving, I want you to convert it into this way. That is what it has always been. All this information has always been there. What has happened is the machine learning has now taken it to another dimension entirely. So, like I said, nothing will change significantly in the marketing education, but the approach to it will technically change and shift, and it's changing significantly. It's changing, and it will continue to change as we're beginning to have some other things. Think about it. Robotic is beginning to take it. Yeah, they are testing it, and before you know it, they will gain mastery of it, and you won't need house help in your house. Something will clean your house for you. That's automation. All of those things will happen and we can't run away from it. I traveled recently, and for 2 weeks I was in Tesla. The first day I was very scared that I'm sitting down, something is driving me, and it was driving. And I'll tell you, the experience inside the vehicle shows that even Tesla and automation drive better than human being. And this is the word. You have to embrace it. Today, you want to test the sampling of a shoe. Now, you don't have to get into a supermarket to do that. I can take a picture of my leg and take a picture of the shoe, and I will do a virtual reality and see how the shoe fits on me before I even order it. This is what will change in our approach to marketing, and not that any foundational element of marketing is going to change significantly.
Wow. Yeah.
That was actually how I tested my glasses. So I just used the website trial, which just makes it so much easier than going in and testing like 50 different
Exactly.
frames. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really been a very powerful, insight packed conversation. Lots of very heavy conversation. So we want to close things out with a little rapid fire, a couple of rapid fire questions. So the theme is keep, tweak, or radically rethink. So we'll ask you a couple of questions. Single word,
You said, what are the answers?
Keep, tweak, or radically rethink. So
Okay.
we'll give you 3 options and you say which one should you keep, which one should you tweak, or which one should we radically rethink.
Okay.
So I'll start. First, marketing degrees, internet learning, AI tools.
Marketing degree, internet learning, AI
tools. Which should we
Of
keep,
course.
tweak, or radically or you can choose 2, or if you want to keep everything, up to you.
Okay. Radically or tweak. Of course, I would say marketing degree you should tweak. Today, if you have any marketing module that doesn't have AI integration automation in it, then you are not ready to go. So even at BMA, I've introduced that into some of the modules. Tweak marketing degree. Of course, AI, I don't know. You don't need to radical. He's already radically rethink. So it's affecting our brain already. Maybe you should keep that for now. Maybe you should keep that for now. And I think the third thing you said is
Internet learning.
internet learning. Internet learning, I think you should just you should tweaking in the sense that create a kind of the internet kind of engagement so that you can have holistic. So for instance, if I'm teaching you MPD, I want you to take one part of the assignment would be to go to the open market or go to ShopRite or what do you call it, modern trade, and go and do some things so that everything is not just literally virtual. So you want to experience what is happening, study, do in-market study, and then come back. So I would say you should tweak, and everything is not just virtual. Introduce some level of experiential into the learning.
Okay. We've got the next three. So still the same
Okay.
criteria of keep, tweak, radically rethink.
Okay.
So we've got virality,
Mhm.
community, and consistency.
Virality, I think you should. I think you should tweak consistency. No, you can't consistency. Why are you guys giving me a dick like this? Consistency of what you can in this age you can't be consistent. You have to okay, maybe consistently changing. I would say no, you can't be. Don't keep consistency. Radically rethink. You have to start thinking that and moving. And what is it? Community.
Mm-hmm.
Community, keep. I would say keep the community because however you look at human being, the foundational needs of human being are the same. Whether it is in Japan or we are all human truth. We will eat, we will love, we will togetherness. All of those things are the same. Which tweak am I tweaking again?
I think you've answered it. You've talked about virality, community, and consistency.
Okay.
So just a few more. Oh, worry, sorry. Don't not meant to give you a dick. Okay. So personal branding, corporate careers, entrepreneurship.
Personal branding, corporate careers, and entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I would say personal branding, radically rethink. You rethink. It's becoming very, very important now for you to begin to build yourself outside that. Corporate careers, I would say tweak because a lot of things are changing. I used to tell people now, if you operate with the old dimension, you will be extinct as quick as possible. Relevancy is now something that happens on a daily basis. Entrepreneurship, of course, you have to rethink. You have to rethink entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Interesting. So we've got influencer marketing,
Mm-hmm.
traditional advertising,
Mm-hmm.
and creator-led brands.
Okay, so influencer marketing, rethink. Traditional advertising, radically rethink. I'll put it that way. Influencer marketing, I will say tweak. And creator-led brand, I will say keep.
Interesting. Can you give a little bit of insight on your reasons?
So today, the way we use influencers is just riding on their equity. So somebody already have 5,000, 50,000 whatsoever it is. And I think the approach has to be that you begin to co-create content with them and actually extract value from them. If you're signing them for a period of time, beyond just helping you post something on their platform or just showcase this, you have to actually begin to say, what property do I want to develop around this particular entity for this period of time? And how do I begin to actually leverage the automation that we talk about, the AI, the virtual reality, augmented reality in the engagement with this audience that are following this particular. Because today I just see that, oh, this person have 5 million followers. Let's speak him, and then whether he has the same value system or he doesn't have the same value system with the brand, we're running after the numbers. So that's why I think we need to actually rethink the way we engage, and then even rethink the way they engage with the brand. For traditional advertising, of course, today, if all you think is billboard, TV, and all of that, you have missed it, because
Right.
a lot of people have moved out from that space. And that is where you begin to, even within the digital space, you also need to understand the time zone when you need to engage people. So, and you also need to understand the kind of content that engages, and you also need to understand, co-creating. Today, you have to start engaging consumers or your TGs to start co-creating your content itself. So let them develop. Today, somebody can just go on Gemini and create an advertising for you as an entity. So the era of saying that it has to be an advertising agency has gone. So I can employ a Libra organization, not the one that are very, very straitjacket in their approach. I can employ, I can create multiple, multiple contents from my TGs for my brands, and they can be proud of what they've created. It won't cost you anything. So that traditional approach, and then they can actually promote some of these things within their own ecosystem,
Right.
instead of the traditional approach that, oh, we design a campaign, we put it on billboard, we put it on this and all of that. I think is beginning to lose his stand, and that's why I say they should rethink advertising completely and how it is approached. I was saying about content creators, content led what?
Creator-led
Sorry.
brand.
Creator-led
Yeah,
brands.
yeah, creator-led brand, and technically, today I'm seeing a lot of tech companies are tapping so well into that space. Immediately, a new feature is introduced on Cloud. I follow two creators, content creators. There's a lady and a guy. Immediately, if a new feature is introduced, you will hear from them. So they don't need to advertise. These are the guys who actually breaks it down. They have multiple people who are following them, and they are able to actually connect and actually get people how to use the new feature that have been created. And I think is an excellent way to actually start driving engagement
Right.
with your TG. And that's why I said you should keep that as it is for
Yeah.
now.
I completely agree. It's the same way Instagram has this, I don't know if it's their head head top person in Instagram, Adam Mosseri or something. He's the one that is the face essentially. Nobody cares
Of
about the Instagram main page. Now, if you want
Yeah,
to know what is happening, the new features or
you
the
go to
new
him. Yeah,
updates,
that's it.
he is the
That's
one
it.
like when you think Instagram is when I think Instagram is his face that pops up in my head now
Mhm.
because it feels more accessible. It's just easy. He just set to puts his camera and starts talking. Doesn't have to be a huge production. So last but not least, the last segment. So this is easier. It will not give you a headache. Which matters more, taste or technical skill?
To be
Yes.
honest, I will tell you for sure that a blend of both are important. That's what I
Definitely.
would say. A blend of both are important. It's like marketing that has both art and science. So you can't leave one for the other. Your taste will always reflect in whatsoever you do, but you also need your technical skills to bring that taste to life.
Yeah. Distribution or positioning?
It depends. So it depends on I would say it depends on the life cycle of a brand. If you're starting a brand, when you're developing it, of course, your positioning becomes very, very critical because you're putting your foot in outside. If you have a great positioning and you're putting a foot outside and your distribution is not there, of course, you will be positioned in your own pocket. So the question is, where does it become necessary? At the earlier stage, your positioning becomes a bit very important. But when you are launched into the market, the position doesn't matter. You need distribution. So that's why I would say both of them are important, but the different dimension of importance at different stage of growth of a brand.
And last but not least, curiosity or credentials?
For me, I think curiosity works all the time because it's a curiosity that will even lead you to which credential you should be looking for in the first instance.
Exactly.
Yeah. So exactly. So curiosity all the time. We always ask the question why and why not. And you ask that question why. So when you begin to ask that, then it leads you to the next form of venture that you want you want to actually go for. So I will take curiosity all the time.
Yeah.
Well,
It's been such an amazing episode. Like we've loved to have you here. And
Thank you.
I think after all that we've discussed today, it's got me thinking that maybe the future of marketing education is in traditional academia versus the internet. Maybe the real challenge is figuring out how to combine structure,
That's
curiosity,
it.
practice, discernment, and critical
Mhm.
thinking. In a world where information is infinite, execution is increasingly automated, but deep understanding still feels incredibly rare. Coach, thank you so much for joining us.
Girls, thank you very much for hosting me, and I'm sure that we've had an excellent time together.
Yes,
thank you
it's
so
been an
much for
amazing conversation.
very to too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, let us know in the comments what you think about marketing education and what your thoughts are on what makes up for marketing education today. Thank you for joining us. I am Dola. This is Bissy.
And
Looking forward to seeing you next time. Tell your friends, share, like, save, do all of the things.
all the good stuff.
Yes, all the good stuff. Thank you for joining Branding Book Club and see you next time.